Hello, it's Richard at Richard's Guitars. Today I want to show you basically what has become my absolute go-to recommendation if you're starting out on guitar or if you want an affordable acoustic guitar. And in a way this is a kind of a guide to starting off on acoustic guitar, you could say. So hopefully if you're new to acoustic guitar playing, this will be an amazing place to start. Within my store, within my world that I operate, everything we do is hand finished and set up, and you'd need to look at another video to really appreciate that in full. But basically what it means is we're making a whole range of adjustments to the guitar to make it play to the very best of its ability. So when we're doing that, and it's a very time consuming process, we cannot be doing that on guitars that are £100, even really these days £150. And what I found is that when I try and do it and offer this service on a certain price point of guitar, I'm just never happy with what I'm sending out. And I understand that that person has got a budget. So I've kind of come to the conclusion that really, if I'm going to supply a guitar of a price, I'd want to make sure it's going to be absolutely inspiring. So earlier this year, Eastman, who normally only sell, these are handmade, this is the point, not normally, they continue to only sell handmade guitars. Eastman is a manufacturer of acoustic guitars that I'm a huge fan of, and every guitar they make is hand finished. Handmade, what am I talking about? Handmade. And crazily, they've come up with a new price point, and I'm going to show you, this is one of them here. I've got 3 models here. Now, if you look at this guitar, I can see in the picture, right? I can see what you're seeing now. Now, I can't promise every single one. I mean, I'll show you the 3 that I've got here. But in terms of just the finishing detail, and this is a satin finish on this, with a abalone. If you look at this up close. Now, I'm going to tell you now, this guitar is, I don't want to get this wrong because it's £265. So it's not a cheap guitar, it's not a cheap guitar, but it's £265. And that's really important to sort of factor in a minute. So this is the finish here. Okay, what's lovely open pore style. And the headstock there. So as I say, every Eastman guitar is completely handmade. And when I'm talking about handmade, it's chiseled, carved, scraped, buffed, polished, all by hand. There are no machines. These are literally hand-carved guitars, handmade guitars. So this one's £265, and this is what you call an OM body shape. Now the OM, this has got a solid spruce top. This is not mahogany, this is spruce. But it is it's a stain, and it's called their classic finish. And they've brought it out on the classic finish is the, if you could argue, their classic, their what the colour they're synonymous for. It's a beautiful, as you'll agree, I'm sure, a lovely, lovely finished guitar. Now bear in mind, it's £265, and this is a handmade guitar, and it's got a solid spruce, that's a solid spruce top, and we've got a mahogany back and sides. So, give you a quick tinkle on this one. That's the OM. So for £265 you can have a completely handmade, absolutely exquisitely built guitar set up to perfection in our workshop. So for example, at the moment the action on this guitar is perfectly fine. This is straight out the box, so I'll do the obligatory kind of like cross shot here. So what you want is the action here to be, the height of the strings is what is the action. But if you look, as always, there is loads of saddle height. This is what they're brilliant at. They get the geometry just right. So there is loads of room for us to make the action really nice and low. So if you're a beginner and you're learning your first, I mean the classic thing is the F bar chord. So when you're playing the F bar chord, it can be a real strain getting your fingers to this first fret across here, because you've got the height of the strings at the nut and you're pushing and forcing your finger against the height of the nut here. So it's quite it can be quite a strain getting that bar chord there across. So the lower we get the action and the more comfortable we can get that for you, that bar chord, which you're bound to hit pretty soon, is gonna be a massive benefit to you. Now this is the OM body shape. Now if you compare that to this one here, okay, now this one, now can you see this one's got a satin finish, this one's got a gloss finish. This one is going to be outmoded. I think they're going to stick with the satin finishes. So if you were to buy a Dreadnought, this is called the Dreadnought, if you bought a Dreadnought version, this one is it wouldn't be like this, it'd be like this kind of satin finish, which I much prefer. And when I heard that they were going to make them in satin finishes, I was like, yay, great, because I prefer it over the gloss finish. Now this one is a Dreadnought, okay? So what you'll find with the Dreadnought is a bit longer, it's deeper and wider. So why? Same price. So you've got OM body shape and you've got the D body shape here, the Dreadnought. So let's have a listen to this one. So what you should hear there, and what I can hear, is a bigger, fuller, more expansive sound. So when you go to a larger body, you get a guitar that's giving you this greater range of bass and treble sounds, and the notes are what I call drop out the guitar. Now that makes itself very, very, it suits strumming styles. So if you want a guitar that when you learn your first chord and you're going, ooh, a G, you want to be rewarded as quickly as possible with something that sounds really wonderful. So let me hear that on this one. I'll do the same thing all slow. Now that sounds perfectly pleasant, right? Just playing that chord. I'm deliberately playing it kind of like beginnerish, like I'm just playing it a bit slow. So let's hear it a bit fuller. But can you hear it's a little bit more brighter, a little shallower in its depth of tone. So if you're learning, now let's say you're expanding your repertoire, you're getting a bit better, hitting the guitar a bit harder. Sounds a little bit raspy, yeah? It gets a little bit cut up, a little bit broken up. It's like the body of the guitar, there isn't the kind of air movement to kind of cope with these bigger, fuller sounds. But if I do that same thing on here, on this guitar, hopefully, I'm deliberately trying to hit that hard so that you can hear the difference. So Dreadnought bodies are bigger, fuller, more expansive sounds. So a lot of people kind of like that bigger, fuller sound, especially if they're learning to play and they're getting their first few chords down, because chords are what we want to do. We want to play chords. So many songs that we can play with these open chords, which I do all the time. And the Dreadnought really is a great sounding guitar for that kind of fuller tone. But the reason why it's not so popular, unfortunately, the Dreadnought, it's not so popular, and it's just, things go round in cyclic kind of popularity. And at the moment, the Dreadnought just isn't quite as popular. And it's not because it's a bad guitar, it's not because it's horrible, it's like one of the most famous designs. And whenever I pick up a guitar, the Dreadnought style, the bigger body guitars, just give you that big full sound, which I love. So somewhere in the middle of those two, you have this one here. Okay, so now you'll see this one's got a cutaway, because this one's got a little bit of a pickup inside it. Now this one isn't 265 because you've got a pickup, it's 299. I've got a feeling it's going to be a little bit more expensive than that. It might go less than 10%, but at the moment it's 299. So for 299 you've got the same sort of thing, but now you've got a guitar that's in between those two, the OM and the D. So, and this is a really, really popular body shape, the Grand Auditorium. So this is called the Grand Auditorium. So it's a little bit longer than an OM, and because it's a little bit longer, it's a little bit deeper. There is more air bubbling around inside, and it gives you a little bit more fullness of tone than an OM, but a little less than a Dreadnought. So I'll have a quick play on this one. I won't remember the chords I was playing. I was doing the chordy thing, so I can't remember the riff I was doing, but so it still sounds more raspy than the Dreadnought. And then the OM. But the difference is that the G body, when it comes to comfort, the great thing about the OM body is that if you are learning and you're taking your guitar around, or just want a nice portable guitar, the OM really is a lovely, it's nice and compact. There's something very portable about it. And for playing slightly more, now I'm no fingerstyle player, but for playing more delicate, the OM is lovely because it's not too big and full sounding. It doesn't have the bass dominance. It's lovely for more playing a bit lighter, just lighter fingered playing styles. The Dreadnought, and so therefore the Grand Auditorium in the middle here, it kind of works for the mixture of the both sides. You can sort of get away with your kind of but you can also kind of build up, and it has and it's still compact. It still feels quite easy, to play. So you're getting a nice blend between a wider ranging style of instrument, so that can blend between your finger style and your strumming styles, and yet still be comfortable and portable. So the Grand Auditorium remains a very popular style of guitar. In this particular range of brilliant, amazingly priced guitars, they don't do a Grand Auditorium without a pickup. So you can't get a Grand Auditorium at £265. But if you are starting out, I couldn't recommend having a pickup more highly anyway. So and it's something you can always talk to about. But I don't want to get too involved in all that. I really want to give you an idea of the kind of the quality of these guitars, but also give you an insight into the kind of sounds they make. So ultimately, this is our Dreadnought. And you can see now, if you look at my angle of my arm here, if you've got any issues with your arm, now not everyone starts out playing guitar when they're 12 years old. Well, in fact, if you were kind of 9 or 10 years old, although you can still play with a full-size guitar, well, start again. You can. If you came into my shop and you were 9 years old, I would be recommending a little an OM body, because actually you will be amazed. You are big enough, you're easily big enough to play that. You might just find this one a bit swamps you a little bit. But if you are suffering any kind of shoulder, and I have a lot of customers who have shoulder issues, the Dreadnought, it's just to be in this position with your shoulder, talk about impingements and things in the gym. So you've got this kind of like rotator cuff, I suppose, area that can sort of trap nerves and give you all these kind of problems. So if your arm is up here for too long a period, some people get frozen shoulders and that kind of thing. I love the sound of a Dreadnought with picking styles when I'm not playing. But if you play, you'll see how my arm was there. If we go back to the OM, look, that kind of, it was like that. Now it's like that, and it just feels looser and more relaxed. So I hope that kind of helps. So these are £265, made by Eastman. They are, I haven't told you, but it'll be in the link anyway, but they're called the PCH series, PCH1 range. There's the OM, there's the Grand Auditorium, and there's the Dreadnought. And if you're buying yourself an affordable acoustic or electroacoustic, I mean a £300 electroacoustic, I genuinely could not recommend. I don't have anything, of all the recommendations I've made over the years, if I could have owned one of these when I was starting out for 300 quid, this would be it all day long. Beautiful, beautiful. Everything they do seems to be utterly incredible. Okay, so I hope that helps give you a bit of an idea of body shapes and sizes, and the Eastman guitars that you'll find sort of in my shop as well. So, okay, cheers, thanks for watching, bye.